until the 20th century, the Causey or West Cross Causeway was a meeting place or node where neighbours met and gossiped, children played, celebrations like Hogmanay. But in the middle of the 20th century, traffic engineers decided to put a traffic island in the middle of the space to facilitate the movement of vehicles. It's a significant street and it was paved as early as the 16th century, or causeyed, which is how it gets the name, the Causey. In 2007, colleagues at Arcade Architects based in West Cross Causeway, particularly Alison Blameyer, grasped the opportunity to make a transformation of the space as part of the Six Cities Design Festival.
Alison was instrumental in the early days of the project. She kind of organised people, organised the workshops, put a lot of her own time into meeting with people, finding stuff out where we could get funding, meeting with funders, all those things that we needed to get the project started and going. And she was an inspiration behind the project.
First of all, Alison was a tutor of mine when I studied architecture at the Glasgow School of Art. She'd done research into small public spaces in Italy. And you might say, well, the climate in Italy is totally different from Scotland. What can we learn from that? Whether we're in Italy or in Scotland, we want spaces in front of buildings where we can gather together and interact with our community, whether that's coming out of the church.
Our church is probably the most historic building in this area, so it is located right at the heart of the Causey.
Or to meet and have a drink after work in the bar next door.
Hi, it's Greenmantle. It's a local pub, looks after students, tourists, a lot of regulars.
And will allow the local communities to show the special gifts and cultures that they represent. We have done this before by contributing with Greek dance and music and food, and we hope to do it more.
Especially this area, it's a wasted space. It's dominated by cars, it's ugly. And I think that if the community could do something to change it, it would be a really good thing.
Pedestrian and cyclist safety has been paramount in our thinking. That's achieved firstly, I think, by reductions to traffic speed. It's secondly achieved by particularly wider pavements, keeping the mandatory cycle lanes, and also providing for two-way cycle access in and out of West Cross Causeway, particularly the Nicholson Street improvements to the crossing there make a big difference to what has been quite a dangerous junction.
Cars sometimes come round really fast, and I've seen a few people hit, knocked off bikes, etc.
Is using this as a shortcut, and it's not a street that's really appropriate for that level of traffic.
So I live locally to the West Cross Causeway, and I think the project is important because it gives people ownership of the space. A lot of people that live around here and work and study in the area don't engage in the area, and having a bigger public space that is open and safe would give them a bit more ownership.
By banning a right turn, which means traffic can now only turn left out of that junction, that also protects pedestrians and cyclists using the crossing.
I think it would be very good for the local community, it would be very good for my business to have this street clear of traffic, and a space for people is far better for me than lorries and cars and taxis.
It also forms an important gateway to the university and the eastern edge of the central area estate, where the university are making huge investments in the quality of their central area. And again, I think the Causey and this, albeit very small space, could make a huge contribution to that overall strategy and development.
It's
really important for the University of Edinburgh to connect with its communities. We are part of the communities here in Edinburgh and beyond, and hence investing in the communities that we're a part of is really important for the university and is part of our Edinburgh local and community engagement programmes.
Edinburgh as a city is currently undergoing what they're calling transformation, which includes a new city mobility plan and a low emission zone for the city, and it's all designed to try to increase the amount of walking and cycling, reduce car use in the city.
The project and what it seeks to achieve sits really well with the city centre transformation and the aims and objectives of that. There could be a real opportunity for this project to perhaps start to advance part of that initiative if connections with that were able to be developed and taken forward.
I would like to see more public benches in Edinburgh and more pedestrian streets in the historical centre.
Living Streets Scotland was formerly the Pedestrians Association, and we've been campaigning for better streets and better conditions for people who walk for over 90 years. The Causey project's a perfect fit with Living Streets' aims to create streets and places that are for people and not for cars. We've done a case study on it because we think it's important that communities are able to take control of their streets.
For me, the elements of the Causey aims that stand out the most are around inclusive spaces and places and spaces that are less vehicle dependent, as well as protecting, enhancing and maintaining the kind of cultural heritage of the place.
The Causey is bordered by a number of historic buildings, and over here we have the Buccleuch and Greyfriars Free Church with its magnificent hammer beam roof.
All over the world we're having to think about how we use cars, how we rely on traffic, how we use private transport as well.
Now we have facts. We've got measured impact of emissions on health, asthma-related health issues, and we're starting to see legislation being acted on, not just there on the shelf.
People appreciated the transformation so much that they requested that we make a permanent transformation. So we became a charity, the Causey Development Trust. We raised funds, we consulted widely with local people, and we now have a design by Ironside Farrer Landscape Architects to transform the Causey permanently.
The design process started in 2014 and progressed over a 6-month period with consultation with the Causey Development Trust, stakeholders and community to bring forward a proposal that was submitted for a TRO in 2016. The TRO raised a series of issues and points of concern that we spent the period through 2017 addressing. To do that, we met and we had events and consultations with those with specific concerns and brought forward a second TRO, which was submitted at the very beginning of 2018.
As part of the 10-year city centre transformation project, the council has been closing streets in the city centre like the High Street and Victoria Street. The Causey is also seeking to make areas more people-friendly, and so absolutely fits with that vision for transformation of the city.
So far we have a final design. We've raised half of the £2 million we need for capital works. We can deliver an outstanding space for Edinburgh, so let's do it.